Blaise Agresti for him to come and talk about the changing conditions in the world that he's so familiar with. I think you'll find out that climate change is definitely impacting his part of the world, and I'll just read you briefly a little bit about him. He's a mountain guide and in charge of the National Mountain Rescue School and coordinator for PGHM, otherwise known as the Peloton de Gendarmerie de Montagne. The PGHM of Chamonix works on Mont Blanc and in the Haute-Savoie region of France. And in 2013 alone, they rescued 1,831 people. He's also been and his organization has been very instrumental in a study conducted there about rescues and the kinds of changes they are actually seeing in the mountain environment relating to rescues and climber experience. And they also coordinate large-scale disasters and perform the accident investigation when things do happen. So give Blaise a second to get ready, and when he gets there, I'll let you welcome Blaise Agresti. All right, welcome, Blaise.
Thank you. So, thank you. I'm very happy to be here, and I want to thank all the organizers for this invitation. Just we start with this bad film documentary about what happened 2 years ago in the Mont Blanc area. It's exactly the same what happened on the Everest route in April. It's always the same story. So it was just not to wake up the assistant, but to explain that we have the same problem in the same morning for everybody. We can just get and try to find the presentation just back. So I will try to deal about the question of safety and security on Mont Blanc's normal route. That means there is several routes to go to the summit. So just you present me, so I will just say that I am in charge of this school. I am also administrator for the Pets Foundation also, and it's a two-part of my job. Because I have two hats, one as a mountain guide and one as a police officer, because colonel from the Gendarmerie is also police officer, because we are doing the rescue, but also we are doing investigations and public order. So that's two parts of my job. So you can. So the summary of my presentation will be some key points about Mont Blanc, just to present, but I know some people here know very well this area, but I will present the key points. We will deal with a study about Goûter corridor. It is about the question of Rockfall, and some consideration about safety and security. First, to introduce this presentation, I just want to focus on the French context, because you have to understand that in France, it's always a little different compared to US. It's not so easy to planify things, to organize. We are the country of freedom and human rights, and it's really difficult to change things, because you said we are an old country. And we have also some piece of Mediterranean culture with complex relation with law and order. So at the end, nothing is so simple. And nobody in France, nobody is responsible for anyway. So Mont Blanc is a question for everybody, because it's a kind of study for an ensemble of different mountains we did about during this summit. Mont Blanc is popular, sure, crowded, but also difficult. And now we just start on the key points. So you know where we are, in the middle of Europe. Sure, you can go ahead. Yes. So it's in the center of Europe with easy access from airport highways. So it's different, I think, compared to Everest or to other mountains we did about. It's a low-cost ascent, no fee, no permit, no regulation. You have a lot of refuges on the way, so it's not comparable to the Denali, for example. You have mechanical transportation to go up in the mountain, to the Aiguille du Midi first. It's just very high in the mountain because you are at 3,800 meters high, and you're also the train on the other side. So that means that you can go up in the mountain with low cost, so it's like easy mountain, and there is a lot of business opportunities for professionals and also for the valley, because it's all the valley of Chamonix is living with the Mont Blanc. It's also easy to go to the Mont Blanc without guide, and that's very important because a lot of people from worldwide is coming to climb this mountain because it's very famous. We have also 200 years of communication, because you remember that the first ascent happened more than 200 years ago. And from this time, a lot of books, a lot of history, a lot of film, documentary. So it's a very famous mountain in Europe. So at the end, you say, in the presentation, that it was 30,000 people each year. No, I think it's around 20,000, but it's enough. So it's attempt to go to the summit. It's not, in fact, there is perhaps 30% of people who are at the summit between these people, only 30% succeed to go to the summit. So from this time, it happened a lot of things, and the presentation just before explained what on the curve that we are from the historical starting point of the alpinism to now. Everything, a lot of things has changed. Also, one slide just to remember, we are dealing about sustainable approach and problem. We are dealing about human waste and garbage and so on. But on the Mont Blanc, you have two aircraft who crash, one in 50 and one in 66. So this is the summit of the Mont Blanc at this time, during the investigation time. So that means that there is a little garbage on the summit at this time. It's aircraft, but we have to think that it's not only human climbers who are doing some pollution on summits. There is also a lot of things to think about. So to precise what we are talking about this corridor, so to climb the Mont Blanc, perhaps you have light. Thanks. So you have two main routes, three, but two mains to go to the summit. So this is the normal route. Okay, you have three huts on refuges on this route. So Tête Rousse, so refuge du Goûter, the new one, and the Valo, it's a shelter in case of emergency. This is one route, and the other one is from Cosmic Refuge. We saw some picture in the just before, and you arrive in this refuge only 20 minutes after leaving the telepheric of the Aiguille du Midi, the lift. Okay, so this is the two main routes. This is a daily time. Every day it's like that in the refuge, in the Aiguille du Midi lift. When you go out to the ridge of the Midi, it's like that. The lift is just here, a few meters close, and it's like that all day long. This is a new refuge of Goûter here in this place. There is a new one refuge, this one. So this is the situation. Just close to the refuge before 2 years ago, 2 or 3 years ago, without any regulation, the situation of campsite just on the mountain was like that, but without any equipment for campsite, nothing. Absolutely nothing. So people come here, and it was a lot of garbage and waste and anything around the refuge. What you have to consider also in this ascent, you have 3 main risky parts of this 2 main routes. Here we will deal about the corridor of Goûter, the Couloir de Gouter. It's Rockfall, and you have here 2 avalanche places. And the film I present just at the beginning of my presentation was a big avalanche 2 years ago in this place, with 9 people who died in this avalanche. And every 2 or 3 years we have big avalanche here and here with 5, 8, 10 people who die. So like we observe in Everest's icefall. So this is always the same place, always the same accident. It's Serac fall down, and it's a lot of die people from the beginning of our story. So this is the job of the rescue team in Chamonix, starting from the creation of this unit in '58. So it was 20 rescue at the beginning, and now it's the same compared to from 10 years, it's the same level. It's 1,500 rescue per year. It's the same. It didn't move too much. Here, the curve is flat now. And what I want to show to you, it's this curve. It's how many people who die in the Mont Blanc area. And it doesn't move anyway. So every year, it's the same level of died people. So that's one of the important things to say. There is a lot of people, perhaps more people, you said, but died people are the same. Just perhaps to precise some things about rescue, so you can perhaps come back to just go back to the precedent slide, please. The unit, the rescue in France is free. There is no charge if you have a problem, and if the helicopter comes to rescue you in the mountain, it's free. There is no charge. It's the state who pays for that. It's funny, it's great, but it's free. Okay, so it's a state service, and it's a gendarmerie, so it's police, the police team who do the rescue, and it's free. So that means the French citizen pay for 50% of foreign people, because 50% of climbers of Mont Blanc come from different countries in the world. So that's a thing to also. And one more thing also, from the creation of this unit, there is 6 rescuers who die in operation. And in all our organization, from the beginning of our story, in all the mountains in France, we have 60 rescuers who died in operation or training. So that's also a cost. It's a human cost, but you have to think also we are dealing about garbage waste, but the rescue life is also inside the cost. And I think to the Nepali coast of the last avalanche in Everest is the same thing. Okay, please. So now we just have a focus on the Couloir de Gouter, which is on one route, one normal route. On the other one, it's avalanche. The main risk is avalanche, and the other one is rockfall. So the PETS Foundation start to do a study about this corridor because it's a place where every year we had people who die. But we didn't know too much about the situation of this rockfall. So the foundation paid for a study, for a precise study, to think about this situation. And the foundation has three main goals. It was to provide information for the community and to increase the level of discussion about this problem. To reduce also hazard with low impact on mountain. To do some proposition, you would see, and to propose concrete solution. So it's really simple. You have the main route here. This is the old refuge. Now you have a new one here. And when you cross the corridor, the couloir, you have often some rockfall. This is a trajectory, I don't know in English. You understand. They take some film about the falling down of the rocks, and this is after perhaps one day or 2 days of film, the trajectory of the rocks. So it's you see some people here. This is the road here. You have to cross the corridor here. So it's a big one. It's not like that every day. I think we can go to the other one. So they have done a study. I don't want to show all the details of the study because it's not very important. Just to understand that there is a lot of falling from the top of the corridor, mainly. So you see this is the first area here. It's 30% of the rockfall start from this point. And it's not because of the temperature of, there is some, during the day it's moving, mainly if it's really cold, but in fact all day long there is some rockfall. And they start from every point of the mountain, not in only this point, or this one, but these four parts are, so that means the rockfall is going here, but sometimes here, so it's a very large part of the corridor, so it's very exposed. So the conclusion of the study is more or less obvious, but it's good just to say that. So there is a rockfall every 17 minutes between 11 to noon. So it's the main time for people to go up to the refuge. So that means you have a very high frequency for this rockfall. There is no change with or without snow in summertime. In wintertime it's different because it's very cold and there is no rockfall. But in summertime, if you have snow, it doesn't change too much the frequency of the rockfall. So I said we have perhaps 15 to 20,000 people who go to the refuge every year or to go to the summit. So it's a lot of frequency to cross this corridor. So that means that there is one person every 100 seconds between, they count everything. So it's a high risk, it's a very high risk. So that means every day there is people who are exposed to this risk all summer long. Not winter time, but all summer long. There is one information we know as mountain guides is that when it's cold, there is no rockfall. So they observe these things. So there is no, here is the rockfall observed here, here, here. And when the temperature is down, below zero, here and here, sorry, here and here, there is no rockfall. So it's totally linked to the temperature, so it's easy to find some good time to cross, but that means everybody has to change the time when they go up to the refuge, because everybody starts with a train. The train starts at 9 down the valley. So people arrive at 10:30 at the station, and they go up to the corridor 2 hours after they arrive. No, it's noon time, and so they are exactly in the right time for the Rockfall. What happened during more than 11 years in this corridor? So we rescued around 300 people from this time. 74 people died in this corridor, and a lot of injury. 27 countries represented, so it's the Mont Blanc climbing ascent, so it's normal. 41 points, so it's nothing. So that means it's an average of 3 dead people and 8 injured per year. It's mathematics, and it's precise risk. You can do nothing if you present the thing like that. And also, one thing interesting, it's also the descent. There is a lot of accident during the time of descent, when people go down from the refuge also, because there is some risk also when you go down before crossing the corridor. When you go down, yes, there is also some risk of rockfall on the side. Everybody is concerned about these guides, clients, and amateurs. It's not only because you don't know about risk. Guides are also concerned about this problem. So after this study, the foundation asked to some engineer to think about solutions. So we can say that we have to limit crossing of the corridor. So, okay, no problem. We can do that. We can inform, regulate. So we have done some things about that. I will explain just after. But the foundation wanted to push some idea about protection. It seems strange to say we have to protect, because we say that mountain is not protected. If you protect, people will go more and more to the summit and so on. But it was a study to put on the table of decider. But at the end, so this study was done perhaps 2 years ago. One year before this study was presented to the guide community, to everybody, and I will explain what happened. So the solution was a small tunnel, okay? Because the bridge was always exposed to because the rockfall is going very high, at more than 30 meters high, so it was not possible to build a bridge. So the idea was a tunnel. So you can go ahead. So that's the project of this tunnel, and the cost also. Okay. So what happened then? Facing this problem, and with the solution of this tunnel, what happened? So the local authorities was unable to decide anything, because there was no consensus about the fact of building a structure in mountain. Because mountain guide position was divided. Some mountain guide was agree with the proposition, some no. The Alpine Club, the French Alpine Club was agree with the proposition. But at the end, nobody was able to say yes or no. So nothing happened. So it's at this time, there is a standby for the structure, even for a small shelter, just to protect in the 2 sides before crossing the couloir, the corridor. It could be just a small thing. So at this time, nothing happened. We have policemen and rescue because this problem was put on the table. We have to be there now, so we put every day 1 gendarme down the corridor, just to verify if people are well informed about the situation, and also to check if they don't have some tents to camp close to the refuge de Goûter. So there is 2 missions for this gendarme, So it's information on the field. So it's new in France to imagine for you in US to have a ranger who inform people on the field when you go to Half Dome or something like that. It's usual in France to have gendarme. Gendarme, it's along the road to get some tips to people. So you have the gendarme just in the mountain. So it's a new step in France to do that. And also the foundation increased information worldwide. So I can show you the brochure they have done. We can just see. So this is the brochure, perhaps in, I don't remember how many languages it translate, perhaps 15 languages, I don't know. So in English, this one. So with a lot of information, even the study of the corridor, even some facts and some information. You can show the other one also. So this is a short summary of the study here. And there is some information about the climbing of the mountain. So now just to finish, before sleeping, consideration about security. What I want to say, but we have a lot of presentation today, so we saw this idea. Now I think the time of the romantic quest of pioneers is over, almost over. Sure, you have some very good alpinism able to do something in the wilderness by themselves without any help and nothing. So it does exist. It still does exist. But for the main part of the main summits, the approach, the autonomous approach of mountaineering is over. In France, but probably anywhere, in some other country, but I assume only for France, the community doesn't assume the consequence of the impact of population on the mountain. And I'm a bit sad about the fact that we always refer to the philosophic value to justify everything, even on Everest and anywhere. So we say in mountains, no rule, no limits, fun, spirit of freedom, and you will find adventure. But what is the reality back to these words? So, because we are in a society with a lot of rules, in mountain you can do what you want. It's the last space of freedom. I'm not sure, but that's the spirit. A key point for me is the responsibility of tourism agency, mountain guides, and professionals. For the Mont Blanc, for example, every guide, mountain guide, is happy to drive a client to Mont Blanc because there is some danger. I present the big one, but it's not so difficult. It's alpinism, but it's you can own some money for Mont Blanc. It's less than €900 for one Mont Blanc with a client, so it's not bad. So you can do a lot of Mont Blanc every summer. So I think one point for me, it's the ethics of mountain guiding community. It had to be reinforced. I deal with the president of the International Guide Association. So I'm sure that it starts from professional and also from people who are Alpine Club and so on, sure, but a mountain guide is a reference for the spirit and for everything. So it starts from this point. Third point is to promote the idea of acceptable risk, and to fight against this thing. Because when you go for the first ascent to Everest by the icefall, it's a very big adventure. It's like someone who go to the moon. You do one step in the unknown. Okay, you can take some high risk. But when you drive 2,000 people, 200 people, 20 people, it's not possible to accept irresponsible risk, even if you don't assume it because you pay some Sherpa to equip and to do for you when you are a guide. It's so easy to pay when you don't want to do the things. So we have to share the knowledge about the risk, how to reduce it, and to train, and we have everybody here have to deal about education. It's a key point also. Perhaps we had at the end of this individual climber lost in the wilderness. I'm sorry for that, but I prefer to be alone, lost in the wilderness, without any rule, anybody. So it's a dream, but it's not possible in main summit. So probably we are in the time of regulation for this summit, but we have dealt about this question. Okay. Just in conclusion, I want to link these two notions, two concepts of security and sustainable approach. We are dealing a lot of sustainable approach in this summit, and I don't heard about too much about security, but I deal about the cost, the life cost for the rescuer, for mountain guide, for clients, for everybody. So we have to deal about this question also. We can't say only with campsites, garbage, and so on. We have also to deal about this hard question of risk and death. So we have to combine the two approaches to decrease the risk. I mean for the main summit, not for if you want to climb a very hard route somewhere by yourself with some friends, it's different. But we drive a lot of people in the main summit, it's different. So we have to change mentalities, because for government, the question of security is something important. Sustainable question is less problem. I think for the Nepali government, the sustainable approach at the moment, they have some very big problem with medical care, with a lot of things to solve for their own country. So sustainable approach it's not the main question for the government. It's perhaps a good question for European, Western European guide or company and so on, but we have to link with the problem of the government, the local government also. Without these authorities, governments mainly, the mountain community is not able to find solution. It's not possible. We have some small project anywhere. It's good. It's very good, because it's one step by one step. The conscience is growing up, so it's good. We have to do that. But we have to touch these people. Second part, it's to reduce the risk. So I have no answer to this question. I don't know if we have to build a structure in the corridor of Goûter, because it's a real question. I don't know. Everybody have an answer here. For me, I think perhaps it's not a good idea, because it's always one step by step where the mountain is going so narrow at the end. It won't be a mountain. It will be, I don't know, a place to play or to play golf, or I don't know. But this is a question on normal route. I think we have to think about this question on very basic normal route. Perhaps in ice form, in Everest, perhaps there is some solution to find. I don't know. It's a question. It's an open question. And the last thing I want to say is to open the window. We can regulate every space, okay, but it's so boring at the end. If there is no more space with a small piece of freedom, it's so sad. So we have to open the window to change and to propose new practices, other mountains, new projects, but not big one, small one. But when you are in France, if you climb in different area, Écrin, for example, for people who know in South France, it's a very beautiful massif with beautiful mountains. There is nobody. there is nobody. All year long, you are alone. And there is Pyrenees, it's the same thing. So it's crowded in a few small pieces of mountains. So we have to imagine some new project in other place with people who want only to go to Everest, to Mont Blanc, to Mont Fuji, and so on. But it's a work for guide and everybody, and journalists also. Thank you.
Any questions here? Go ahead.
Thank you for the presentation. Do you think it would help when climbers from other areas come to a place like Mont Blanc if you explain maybe this is the way we used to do it, now we have a new rule because of this? Maybe I would understand if I come and you say you must use the tunnel, and I understand, well, because of Rockfall every 17 minutes, now that makes sense to me. Do you think that explaining the old way and now the new way would make it more acceptable to climbers when they visit?
I think so. I think when you explain, it's always better. Because in fact, it's not, we are dealing about big problem. No, in the Mont Blanc area, it's the same situation for 20 years now. Nothing increased it's not a so big problem. So you can adjust the explanation to decrease the problem and to manage it. So I think, yes, it's important to explain. At the end, perhaps the community would accept the tunnel, but without too much people who want to climb more and more the Mont Blanc. No, if you explain why you do the tunnel and why you can climb other mountains anywhere, perhaps you can find a balance.
Have they thought about starting the train earlier in the morning?
Yes, yes. It's stupid. It's like the lift, because they opened the lift and the train too late. And people today are climbing Mont Blanc during a one-day trip. So they start the Aiguille du Midi at 8:30. In summertime, it's open at 6:30, 6:37, depending the time. So you can climb the Mont Blanc in one day. That's very common today. It's perhaps 100 people per day who try to climb the Mont Blanc in one day too. So that means you are always late for avalanche. You are always late for but the company, the Mont Blanc company, which sells the tickets for the train, and they don't want to change the hours. So that's a problem. Because in France, nobody wants to. It's difficult to find the consensus about this question. But okay, it's not the responsibility of the company. It's your responsibility as climber. We have a long way to be like the Denali in a planification of with different users, and it's okay. We have perhaps in 50 years.
I truly agree with you on the point that it is a big responsibility. The guide community has this big responsibility to react and act in a better way. So, like having low ratios, guide, and so on. And especially, it's the same Mont Blanc and bigger one in Mount Everest, not taking everybody up to the mountain. Everybody can come into the office, they want to go up, and you go up with them. They should make first other routes, should show that they are able to do it. But on the other hand, what are the possibilities? Of course, we can look at the guys, professional guys are working in this way, and I think it will be possible in a lot of them, but many of them. But what's the possibility with all the big bunch of illegal guiding you have there on Mont Blanc? You know, it's one hand, for example, coming from East Europe, but also the big German companies going up with big groups, with guides that are no guides.
We are doing some control for the profession. So sometimes we catch some people like that. Sometimes they go to court and trial. So we have some case. But I'm not sure that it's a big reality at the end. Perhaps there is some. But we are always hiding the reality with some small case of Polish guide or non-guide, but who are guiding, okay? Just to avoid to deal about the real problem. And the real problem is to say, you are in the company de guide of Chamonix, the Chamonix official company. So what do you do, you, as a guide? Do you do the Mont Blanc in 1 week with other summit before, slowly, and at the end you do only with 2 clients and so on? Do you propose other summits in case of, okay? Or do you try only to go to the refuge, the weather is not so good, you go out the refuge 1 hour, oh, it's so bad, we go back home, and you take your money. It does exist, it still does exist, this situation. So business is not so good, and we can hide this situation. So it's why I did this about ethics. There is no ethics course or training inside the guide training. We never talk about this question. We just start.
We'll take one more question over here.
So you said it's so easy to pay when you don't want to do those things. When you were talking about how people take irresponsible risks, and to me it strikes that that's just a transfer of risk to the Sherpas or whoever you're paying to do that. And so you talked about reducing risk by putting a mountain or whatever, but it seems, I guess I'm curious if there's conversations about how to change the mountain ethic or breed a different mountain ethic where it's not okay to just pay the transfer the risk.
No, it's really difficult to answer your question. Yeah, I'm sure that there is some things to do. I don't know exactly what to do, but I'm sure that when you are with your client, as a Western guide in Nepal, for example, and the hardest part of the job is doing by the Sherpa. Something is wrong because when you are a guide, you are responsible for your client directly on the rope. So that means we transfer a lot of things anyway, and at the end nobody is responsible for. So we have 11 Sherpa who die in the icefall, but it's only in the icefall. But there is a deep link between this accident and the responsibility of the agency who do this. I speak with, there is some people from Nepal here, so they have to say what they want about this situation. I'm not there, but I think it's too easy always to say, I pay, I transfer.